we get a book that's probably not as famous as the movies plural.
I'd agree.
That have come from it, and that's Freaky Friday by Mary Rogers. And this one was not banned. It had just been challenged. It was specifically challenged in Tampa Bay in 2001, which is kind of weird.
Yeah.
Because it had been sitting on that library shelf for years.
Almost 30 years.
Before it was even checked out once. So that was, it hadn't been checked out in the article I was reading. It hadn't been checked out until this time that it was checked out, and it was challenged because of violence and swearing.
Interesting.
Thinking about the time frame, you said in 2001 is when it was challenged. The remake in 2003, that's the Lindsay Lohan version, which maybe that's where the kid got it from. They loved the movie, and they're like, "Oh, I should go read the book." And then it
was 2001. I wouldn't.
Yeah.
Oh, well, maybe right before. Sorry,
They heard it. They read in Tiger Beat that it was coming, so they wanted to do their homework.
Exactly. Sorry, I was thinking backwards.
Right.
Maybe I was thinking published.
Gotcha.
You were in a wrinkle in time, Emily.
I wasn't a wrinkle in time. There it is. But yeah, it is interesting how books sometimes come into fad, or maybe the family loved the ABC TV or the original. Like I always knew the 70s version existed, but I've only watched really the 2003 version.
Gotcha. See, my first experience with the 70s version was in the 90s. So this is like probably about 20 years after that one came out. We watched it as like kind of an incentive movie in school. And I remember kind of thinking like, this movie's pretty old. Like when I was watching it it felt very 70s as a 90s kid sitting there watching it. But that was my first kind of connection to it. But yeah, the 2003 one.
Iconic.
Yes.
So good.
Actually, though, my first experience was the 1995 one. I'm probably in the minority here.
Well, I will say, when I was looking for different versions, I missed that one on my first pass. And I didn't even realize that was a thing.
It's good. I like it. It's Shelley Long. I don't know that the actress who played the daughter went into anything, but I don't know. I love Troop Beverly Hills, so I'm just here for campy Shelley Long, late 80s, early 90s films. I don't even think I watched it live on TV. I think it just ended up getting replayed on the Disney Channel, as some non-Disney Channel movies tended to do in the mid-90s. So that is where I discovered Freaky Friday.
Nice.
But the one that I associate most is the Lindsay Lohan, Jamie Lee Curtis. So good.
We were democratic for that, though. 2003, we were coming in. We were ready, going in the middle school.
That soundtrack,
amazing.
Still slaps.
Now, did Lindsay Lohan she had songs all over that soundtrack, didn't she? Because she was the musician in the movie.
Yes.
So that would have made sense. Because, that was, I would always associate that one with Confessions of a Teenage Drama Queen. Because I feel like those two movies came out right around the same time with her. So,
yes, that was the second coming of Lindsay Lohan, because she had success with The Parent Trap, but then I guess went off to be a kid, and then Disney went all in on Freaky Friday and Confessions of a Teenage Drama Queen, and that's Haley Mills reached the stratosphere on her own with Mean Girls and everything else.
And then from there, now she's.
Did anyone read the book?
Yeah.
I did.
Read Freaky Friday? Okay, I haven't.
Yeah.
I'm always familiar with the story.
I haven't read.
I got job. I definitely read it probably shortly after the 2003 movie. I was like, oh, I'll go. It inspired me to check it out. And I don't think I watched the 77 one till maybe a few years ago. It just wasn't super accessible. I might have watched it on Disney Plus, or borrowed it from a friend at work. That's a different story. The book, though, it's definitely, it's a kid's book of its time. I was probably reading it at 15 or 16, and it was definitely more aimed at a 12 or 13-year-old audience. I do think they aged her up in the films. I could be completely wrong about this, but I feel like she's maybe 13 or 14 in the book, and in both the Shelley Long and the Lindsay Lohan, she's 15 or 16. So there are some very different plot points. I feel most true to the book would be the 77 one, Jodie Foster's.
Yes.
Right around the correct age. She's very much a tomboy. That's a big part of it. I think in both of the 90s and the 2003, the mom is like a working mom, whereas it is very in the 70s, like she is a homemaker. She stays at home. And so part of the hijinks that ensue are like, this 12-year-old doesn't know how to cook or make breakfast for the little brother. So very much a time capsule of the 70s, but fun to see how it has been adapted to other time periods, including the 2018 DCOM. Did either of you see that on Disney Channel?
I haven't.
I did. I thought my kids were kind of way into the all of the like Descendants things at the time.
Yeah.
And I remember we were watching, I think it was one of those, or Zombies, or one of those that they kind of promoted this one for. And I was like, they're doing Freaky Friday again? Like Disney keeps on, doing versions of this. And then we watched it one summer. And that's when I realized it was the musical, which was adapted from, there was a 2016 musical. So the DCOM one, it was the musical version, which kind of puts a whole different spin on it.
Yeah, I watched it. I have been out of the DCOM game for many years now, but somehow caught wind of it, love the other Freaky Friday adaptations, and I actually really like the actress Heidi Blickenstaff, who plays the mom. This is going to be like a really deep, obscure theater nerd cut.
Go for it.
In this show called Title of Show, and it's very funny. Highly recommend looking it up. I don't know, I was like 15 and got really into that show, and
that doesn't surprise me, Courtney.
She went on to play Ursula in The Little Mermaid on Broadway, replacing the actress who had originated the role. So I was aware of Heidi Blickenstaff. I was like, all right, cool. She's doing a movie. It's Freaky Friday. So I did tune into Disney Channel to watch the premiere of that. And it was cute. I thought they did a good job with it. Though sometimes she'll come to Epcot for the Festival of the Arts. Oh, yeah. So sometimes they'll throw a song in from there. But I feel like a lot of the people in the audience are like, what is this?
They don't even know what it's coming from. Well, and that was like when I watched it, I remember being kind of like I'm the person who can't watch something without like looking everything up. I don't know how you guys fall on that, but I don't think I've fully watched anything in years because I'm like, who is that? I know that guy from something. She was in something, like whatever, so I'm always looking things up. But like I was like, did they write all these songs for this, Disney Channel movie? Like what? And I look and it's like, no, there was a Disney produced musical from 2016 that they just adapted for TV.
I think it's one of those where it didn't really go on to Broadway. It did like a trial run out of town, but I think the sole purpose of it was so that they could sell it to schools or like theater.
It's all about the licensing.
For licensing purposes, which good for them.
Yeah, no, they're something good came of it, right?
Yeah.
We got that Disney Channel original movie version.
So, Courtney, since you read the book, the reasons it was challenged, which I read the article that you shared with us, and it seemed like everyone looked at this parent like they were crazy. They were like, it was a 4-1 vote, like, to not take it off the shelves. And they made arguments about censorship, but the reasons that you have cited were for violence and swearing. And maybe I could see where some swearing comes in, like we said, the bad word and James the Giant Peach.
Right.
But where is violence? Because I cannot remember violence like in the Lindsay Lohan version, but I know people change it as we've adapted it. But where in the book was there violence that possibly could have been what was questioned?
I mean, it's been like 15 years since I've read it. But do you know, Eric? Because I was going to guess.
I'll tell you what I found. Yeah.
Is it targeted at the little brother? Like.
It was just a scene, and it's one of those, I'm pretty sure it was a throwaway scene taken out of context. And so, which is interesting because it's not anything to do with the 77 movie. Like there's this didn't even make the cut. It was so throwaway. There's like a scene where they do like the finger play version of like, here's the church and here's the steeple, open the doors. And they say, instead of see all the people, they say, kill all the people. And that's where that comes from. It's like a one little line.
Couldn't think of anything.
Because that probably didn't hang with you. It didn't scandalize you.
When I saw it was on this list before seeing their reasons, I was thinking back, like maybe there was something about like womanhood and like puberty. Like I could see that being addressed right around the time period of this book. And I don't remember if it was or not. So then, I was surprised to see the language and the the quote air quote violence. I think the language was probably like damn or something very.
Which again,
like
it's
that.
funny you said it was challenged it was challenged in 2001, not in the 70s. So like that gap, like what we consider now bad language, they like our bar is a lot higher now for bad language. Like those words would only hit maybe would be PG-13 now, not when maybe in the 70s they would have been like, oh, scandalous. Or something for children anyway. Like even for children's stuff now, like damn would be PG if there's only one in there.
Right.
Something like that. So I was just so curious because I did not expect Freaky Friday to be on here because it's such a family idea of like kids misunderstanding their parents and parents misunderstanding their kids. It's such a family oriented idea that I was really shocked that this one was considered a banned or a challenged book, not banned.
Challenged, right. And it's for some of the other heavy hitters, like to put this on a list with, like Huckleberry Finn and A Wrinkle in Time is another one that's been challenged. So to put it on a list with those is probably like, I'm probably pushing it a little bit because it was only challenged once. But I think it is
criteria though.
It did. And it's a good illustration of sometimes how those little throwaway scenes can get taken out of context. Because I'm sure it was some character building that happened with that scene to kind of let us know something about how the character felt at the time. But it shows us how that challenge doesn't always go through to a banning when it's kind of taken out of context like that. So it's a good illustration of that in the process. If you like this video, like and subscribe. If you really like this video, visit synergylovescompany.com for the full audio podcast.